Hi, friends. So, today we're gonna talk about books, and this is completely unplanned and spontaneous. Um, Absolutely inspired by Ben Ernaux's latest video about his Fall TBR. And before I get into the books that I want to share, I really want to say that if you have not subscribed to his channel, you absolutely should because um, like I don't know, I love his taste in books specifically, but also just love the way that he kind of talks and thinks about books. So, um, big thumbs up from me. If you haven't come across his stuff just yet. Anyway, so this is a TBR of things that I really hope to get through before the end of the year. I'm just looking at my planner and just realizing how little time we have left in the year, and then how crazy things get for me as a person with a small child around Thanksgiving and the holidays. So I'm just trying to be really mindful about how I use my time, and also really wanting to read some books that I've been meaning to read all year long because I don't want to carry the regret of not having finished them into the next year. So I'm gonna show you a bunch of things that I'm hoping to get to, and I'm not gonna do detailed reviews or anything like that because obviously these are things I haven't read, but just kind of want to show you how I think about my reading. And the thing that you'll probably notice right away is that I really think about my TBR and kind of I plan my reading around reading projects. I'm not someone who makes a list and then checks the books off the list. I just kind of come up with ideas, organize books around. Over the years, I've called them like curriculum piles or like conceptual projects, and then just have the project as an idea in the back of my mind, and then I am pulling books as I feel like reading them. But I'm hoping that over the long term, I complete the project. I hope that makes sense. I'm just trying to allow for spontaneity and moodiness, but also trying to create a sense of framework or direction or discipline, so I'm not just like all over the place and I'm actually getting to the books that I'm interested in. So the first project that I'm going to mention is my 19th century wives under pressure project. This is not my clever idea. I know it's so cute. I read an interview with Amortals, I think that's how he pronounced his name. He wrote A Gentleman in Moscow and The Lincoln Highway, books like that. And he said that he is a part of a book group that reads like challenging old books. So one of the projects that they tackled as a group was the 19th Century Wives. So which books are included in that list? Madame Bovary by Flaubert, which I've read before, but I also am trying to make myself reread work more, so that's a perfect title for that. I am currently reading Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, and this book is just gossipy and juicy and trashy in the best ways. I love it so much. Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is a book that you have seen I've carried all over the place, and I actually started reading earlier this summer. I was part of a group read on Substack, but I could not keep up with the group schedule. So, but I really love what I read, so I'm just going to just return to it. The fourth book in this project is Portrait of a Lady by Henry James, which I don't have at the house at this moment, but that's fine because I still have these three ladies to get through. So that's 19th century wives under pressure. I just love them. I love reading about affairs. I have a very happy and healthy marriage, and I think it's just a curiosity for me to read about affairs, but also like seriously to explore stories of relationship and marriage of mature people. I think that's amazing. Okay, that's my first project. Then I have a set of books by Annie Ernaux. So I started reading Ernaux for the first time this year, and I'm just totally late to that game, but love everything that I read by her. My favorite so far is A Girl's Story, and I already had some of her books at home. I just recently received The Other Girl, which is the most recent book by her. It just came out by Seven Stories Press in September, and this is a story about her older sister who had passed away and she didn't know about her. So that's a teeny tiny book, like a lot of Ernaux stories. I want to read that. I want to read Shame, which is about her parents' relationship, I believe, abusive relationship, I think. And then the last one is Getting Lost, which is the story of an affair. You know me with my affair stories, but this is the journal, I believe, of her affair with a Russian diplomat. I read Simple Passion, which is the fictionalized version of that story, but in my experience, Ernaux's memoirs are more affecting than her fiction. So really excited to read these. And on the same pile, on the same project pile, I'm also including In Farthest Seas by Lala Romano. This is an Italian story, an Italian author that is completely new to me. The book is out by Pushkin Press, and it's the story. It's kind of like a retrospective of a long marriage that Romano writes after her husband's death. It's blurred by Aishigul Savage. She says that this is one of the most beautiful books I have ever read. I hope that this is kind of like I don't know, like a gentle take on marriage. A lot of the stuff that I read, unfortunately, it's just does not really make you want to be in a long-term relationship with people, because it shows all of the horrific things that we do to each other. But I love Aishigul Savage a lot, and I think her sensibility is much kinder and more hopeful to relationships. So the blurb made me want to read her. I also saw a note online somewhere that compared Romano to, well, called her an Italian Ernaux. So we'll see if that actually makes sense. But I'm curious about it. Okay, so that's my second pile. I have another project inspired by one of my favorite books of the year. So The Wall by Marlene Haushofer is a book that everybody has talked about this year, I feel like, or in the last few years. I loved it and just lost my mind over it. I loved it so much. And of course, I want to read everything I can get my hands on by her. So this is Killing Stella, even though I think people are not loving it as much as they've loved The Wall. We'll see. For a long time, I actually did not read The Wall because I had read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman, and the two books, and I loved it so much, and the two books kind of sounded similar to me, so I was like, okay, I'll read it when I get to it. If you feel similarly about The Wall or the other book, they're complementary, but you're not going to feel like you're having the same reading experience. So I highly recommend you read both. But on that note, I also really hope to get to Orlando by Jacqueline Harpman. This is an old book that is just being reissued by Seven Stories Press, which is one of my favorite publishing houses right now. So really excited about it. Orlando is basically a retelling of Virginia Woolf's Orlando. And I just love a sapphic story, for sure. So we'll put that aside. Oh, and the last book that goes into this curriculum pile is kind of a convoluted addition to the mix. But when I read The Wall and was just kind of running my mouth about it on Substack, I posted a note and I said that I was I had just finished it, and the next book that I was planning to read at the time was The Employees by Olga Ravin. And I said something along the lines of, like, if you're just really not angry enough at capitalism, and you're looking for like a dystopian story, like these two seem to fit the bill. And Olga actually is on Substack, and she saw my note and she said that um, if that's the type of story that I enjoy reading, that I should also read the short story. Hold on. Monteverita by Daphne du Maurier. So this is a short story collection by Daphne du Maurier. The title of the collection is Don't Look Now, but I don't know if I'm going to read the whole short story collection. I'm definitely going to read Monteverita, which I think is maybe a novella. It looks like it's longer than a short story. Okay, so that's that project. 2 more to go. Earlier this year, I got, earlier this year, maybe the last couple of years, I have been just sort of slowly getting back into reading theory, and just looking at like literary criticism. I studied political theory in grad school, but that was such a traumatizing experience that for ages I could not even come close to anything that reminds me of texts that I could have been reading in grad school, or was reading in grad school. But I am slowly getting over that, and one of the reasons why is because I discovered the work of Adam Phillips, who is a British psychoanalyst. And I'm looking here at my bookshelf because I'm trying to pull the book by him that kind of unlocked things for me. The title of the book is On Giving Up, and I wrote an essay for my Substack about it. And basically it's just a story about, kind of like reframing giving up and changing direction, changing course in a way that feels less like failure, but more like redirection. And I'm making it sound like self-help, and it's not. It's very rigorous and interesting and based in psychoanalysis. So that book was so fascinating for me that, like, I kind of started collecting Adam Phillips's work, and I have a couple of titles that I really hope to get to before the end of the year. On Wanting to Change is one of them, and then the other one is Missing Out in Praise of the Unlived Life. As a 44-year-old, I think I'm kind of in like the early stages of that journey of realizing and accepting that, there were ideas that I had when I was younger about who I was going to be and what kind of life I was going to live, that are just, there's just like no time for those ideas to materialize. But maybe there is a case to be made about in favor of missing out on some of those early grandiose ideas of who you should be as a human. At least that's what I'm looking for. We'll see. So these 2 books are definitely on my list. And then because so much of his work is grounded in Freudian theory, I was actually perusing my own bookshelves here at home. As I said, I studied political theory in grad school, and my husband is actually a PhD in philosophy. So, there's several degrees worth of books in the house. And I haven't actually read any Freud. So I've been thinking that, okay, if you're just really enjoying reading psychoanalytic work, why don't you just go to the source? And I found this one, Dora, An Analysis of a Case of Hysteria, which is like a client study by Freud on an 18-year-old, very kind of precocious and intelligent young woman that he gives us, like he names her Dora. That's not her real name. That's the pseudonym he gives her so he can share his observations and his analysis of her case. Also, this book is very brittle, falling apart, but I really hope to get to it before the end of the year and get kind of drink from the source and appreciate Freud and experience Freud on my own for the first time. Okay, so that's that. And the last project that I have is this one. I'm saved it for last because it's the one that I'm the most intimidated about. So earlier this year, I decided that I'm just gonna get over my fear and shame around not being able to read poetry and just kind of start dipping my toes. I started reading like one poetry collection a month, and I have to be honest with you, it just really kind of that experience like really kind of changed me in a very deep way as a reader. I think that I continue to read just one poetry collection a month, and even like a couple, like I had a couple of months where I just skipped because I couldn't find the mind space for it, but I could not overstate the impact that has had on my overall experience of life and reading in particular. I think that I am a lot freer in what I like to read, and I'm also a lot more open to kind of like formal experimentation because of my experience of reading poetry this year. So I really want to continue on this path. And I already read my poetry collection this month. For November and December, I'd love to read Anne Carson, because when I started on this kind of poetry track, I thought to myself, how amazing would it be to be able to read Anne Carson by the end of the year. And I just keep, like, her books have just kind of been in my orbit and on my radar, and I've wanted to read her for so long, but I'm just so fucking intimidated. I think that part of it is because she's a classicist, and because of my training, my academic training, I know how little I know. So I'm just, I guess, concerned and worried that I will start reading these books and just not be able to decipher any of it. But the two that I do have are Ernaux the Bittersweet, and then Wrong Norma, which seems a little bit more non-traditional in format and style. There's a lot of drawings and notes, like narrative notes, in addition to poems in that book. So I think that what I'm actually going to do is probably start with Wrong Norma because it feels a little less intimidating, and then move on to Ernaux the Bittersweet. So if you have any tips for how to approach Anne Carson, which one to start with, maybe there's like a whole other book that I should be going to first instead of these two, please let me know. And that concludes my list. It's pretty ambitious. I know that. I also don't anticipate that we'll actually be able to get through all of the books, but I think that it will be really fun to dip in each one of these projects and feel like I have a sense for where I want to go into the new year. The one book that I'm the most excited about is the one that I'm reading right now. I've wanted to read Anna Karenina for ages. I'm reading it now. It's honestly so fun for me. I'm drooling every time I read it. It is a page turner. It is sassy, it's gossipy, it's profound. And I'm so glad I'm reading it at 44 and I didn't try to read it earlier. I just don't think I would have appreciated a lot of what it's about if I had read it sooner. So yeah, that's me. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if you have any thoughts on anything I've shared, and if you feel inspired, please make a video like this one, just for what you plan to read before now and the end of the year. It's a very sunny day in Memphis, even though it's kind of chilly outside, so I think I'm gonna grab my coffee and go outside and read on my lunch break. Thanks for watching.